Most of our agents are familiar with the BGA spreadsheet that we've been using for the past couple of years, and it does provide some good information. It's personalized to the company, it provides plan names, provides rates by category, aggregate cost of the employer by category, and then finally variance between plan options. Unfortunately, beyond that, our spreadsheet is kind of limited. For brokers that need more information, we've developed a spreadsheet that has the same personalization for both the company, the agency, and demonstrating the relationship with Black Gould and Associates, but provides brokers and their clients with a wealth of information and the ability to make on-the-fly calculations as to the decisions the employer makes on plans, impacts on rates, contribution strategies, the net cost to the employer of those changes, and more importantly, the net cost to the employees on a per paycheck basis. Starting from the top, you can see that the recommendations, in this case a triple option, are grouped by either renewal, whether they're a revised renewal, whether you're making demographic assumptions, and then inside of that, broken out by plan. So in the case of this sample company, we have a three-plan triple option here, an HMO, a PPO, and an HSA. And the assumption that we made was an employer that was posting an annual benefits budget for last year of about $400,000 a year, seeing about an 11% increase in their overall premium. The employer comes back to the agent and says that that increase is not sustainable and needs to see some alternate options presented. Using this spreadsheet, we would load in the renewal rates along with any plan change rates, the demographic assumptions for the employees by class and by plan, the number of pay periods the employer is using, their contribution strategy, whether on a percentage or defined basis, and then any value adds they might be doing, like an HSA contribution, gap and voluntary plans. What this spreadsheet then does is it's going to take those costs, break them out by plan, and then on an aggregate basis. It'll give a snapshot of the benefits for each plan, and then most importantly, it'll break out the impact of those assumptions on the employee's paycheck, the amount of money they would be paying for each plan design. So as you can see right here, you had an employer that had three plans with a relatively rich contribution strategy, but the problem is that the employees are mostly concentrated in the two plans that are most expensive to the employer, and the reason for that is pretty simple. The employer hasn't provided any sort of an incentive with 100% contributions across the board for the employees to go with a more consumer-directed plan, so they naturally gravitate towards the plan that has the richest benefit. So the first step with this group was to put in a plan catalog that was had a little bit more parity. Instead of having three plans that had basically identical benefits, we moved to a plan that had a standard HMO option, a higher deductible PPO option, and an HSA that was more in line with what we would expect from an HSA plan with a higher deductible. The impact in the rates just between those three plans right there would amount to a net savings to the employer of about 5%. And as you can see, the dependent cost for the employees would go down per paycheck as the plans got more affordable. Where this spreadsheet really becomes useful, though, is when we start to make some demographic assumptions. So looking at the third column right here, we have the same three plans, the same three rates, but we make some demographic assumptions. Let's assume that a 10% shift from the HMO to the HSA and a 10% shift from the PPO to the HSA can be driven by a $400 contribution by the employer into an HSA plan. The net impact to the employer, while the HSA gets more expensive, is that they save about $30,000 per year, so about the same as the previous recommendation, but with more population shifting to a plan that's going to have lower rate increases over time. If we want to go more aggressive, we can take the same plan offering, the same rates, and make a more radical shift in enrollment by decreasing contributions on the HMO plan and seriously increasing contributions on the HSA plan, along with a $1,000 HSA contribution. If we wanted to make this plan to where not only was it not revenue negative by comparison to the current one, we'd simply drop the HSA contribution on the fly, and you can see the impact to the employer's bottom line. Same thing if we want to make some shifts to the employer contribution strategy, maybe dropping dependent coverage on the HMO to free up some capital. We can see what the impact is to the employees on the HMO as well as to the employer's bottom line here. If we wanted to bring these more in line with saving money, we could do so quickly, easily, and see where the employer is saving money, where it's costing the employees. As you can see, this spreadsheet provides you the ability to make a lot of plan assumptions and make changes quickly without having to make calculations by hand. We hope you found this useful, and we look forward to talking to you about it in the future. Thank you for your business.